Hold on. I'm sorry, guys. What?
Can you give me a color,
Sophia, I'm on a podcast. Really?
please?
Do not interrupt. Purple, go away.
Okay.
I was in the middle of something. Don't do that.
He's talking about the Holocaust over here.
Oh my god. Fucking color? Really? Okay. Anyways, back to what I was saying. She's gonna be grounded.
In the morning, I'm making waffles.
Whoever said orange was the new pink was seriously disturbed.
And when it comes to huge openings, a lot of people think of me.
Just call me a fuck ass.
Brilliant. Scary.
I get nasty when I'm horny.
Welcome to Not Another 2001 Movie Podcast, a show exploring movies released during the first year of a chaotic century. Today, we are going on a safari. I am Josh.
I'm Slate.
And I'm Allison.
So, today, before we get on our journey, I would like to hear about some things that you guys would take with you if you were forced to evacuate the country and live somewhere you've never been before. You get to bring your clothes, you get to bring your phone, pretty much anything that you would consider, oh, I gotta have that if I'm going to leave forever. That's going with you, so don't worry about that. But something that has personal significance to you, or your home, something that kind of reminds you of home, or however your family, however you want to kind of interpret that. And it can be big, but don't pack your whole suitcase full of every piece of fine china.
So you can't cheat by saying you would like lift your house up on jacks and just take it down the interstate.
Yeah,
like a double wide trailer.
None of us are working with the Bezos level suitcase over here. We're in a constrained budgetary evacuation situation, so let's keep it fairly manageable.
Well, my first inclination before I read further down when you said don't worry about clothes was my dad had this like UK starter jacket. Just a big, and everything that's UK branded and everything is so super expensive, and I ended up with it after he died, and it is way too big on me, but I wear it to nearly every game that I go to. Cool. I just like to wear it. So it reminds me of him. But the kind of, we'll say the pointless thing would be I would take his record, his vinyl record, his band vinyl record with me. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Similar to you, I kind of have two things. One of them is something that someone had made for my mom's funeral. My mother's name was Robin, and this sits like on my game desk. But you can see there, it's like a little robin sitting in the field on a little wood perch. So, I feel like, I feel like I would have to take that, as definitely one thing. And then, my daughter, she makes like little bracelets, right? So like today I'm wearing a Kentucky bracelet. She got into really making bracelets, for about the last couple of years, but over like Christmas she made bracelets for like a craft show and decided that she wanted to sell her bracelets for $5, and half of the money that she raised she would donate to the food pantry that her special needs uncle works at, and so she ended up raising like over $600 like over the course of like the holidays from Thanksgiving to Christmas, and selling bracelets, which was really cool. Super proud dad moment. I had to brag on her there. But the first ever bracelet she made for me, which is this one here. You probably can't see too much about it, but it's got a bunch of goofy things on it, like teddy bears and fish and butterflies and skulls, and it reads and says Daddy. I wear this bracelet more than any of them. It's my favorite bracelet. I've had it restrung like 4 or 5 times, and I'd have to take that. That is like my favorite thing. Like, I'm trying to make that bracelet last me until I die and bury me with it. So those would be the two things that I would take.
Nice. Now you made me want to do show and tell. I should have had this ready to go.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I just had them sitting around. So, like, that desk is
Oh,
right
mine's
behind
closed. Hold on.
him. He disappeared. He's gone forever.
So my two, I kind of had two in mind too. So the first one is very more selfish, like because it's something I always say if my if the house was just falling down or on fire or something, and everybody's safe, the cats are out, everybody's safe, everybody's good. The thing I would go back and try to grab if I thought I could get out of there with it would be this. There's this giant. They released it. Probably 2014, I think is what 2014, 2013, somewhere thereabouts. This giant helmet of up to that point every season of Power Rangers on DVD. But it's since there's been 10 seasons that came out that aren't on that thing. But I always said it was just one of those things because it came out like I said 2014 or something, but it was one of those things I just never imagined would exist. It just never felt like this show was not going to have something that significant ever come out to kind of encompass all of it. So it was one of those things is if it ever comes out, I'm going to buy it. I don't care how much it costs. I think it was close to $1,000 when it came out. Crazy. Yeah, no, it was ridiculous, but I paid it and love it. And it's just this huge ass helmet with 10 metal tins with all 98 discs. It's still it's one of the largest collections on DVD collections in the history of DVDs. It's awesome.
I remember seeing it in your room.
You've seen it.
Yeah, I think at Red Mile or somewhere, at some point it was dude, that is pretty dope. I did not realize you spent that much on it.
Yeah.
But hey, man,
it's stupid. But
no, it's not though. That's the thing. The conversation that I had with Malcolm on his podcast was yeah, are we spending frivolous money? Sure, but also if it means something to you and you have it, then do it and enjoy it. Ultimately, the number one comic that I want is Amazing Spider-Man 129 because it's the first ever appearance of the Punisher.
Mm-hmm.
One with a ripped off cover and ruined pages is still going for almost $1,000. So eventually one day I'm gonna buy it and it'll cost me $2, $3, $4, $5,000 to get a good copy of it that I want. But it's a goal. I'm gonna get there and I will be happy with it and I won't have any problems. So everybody has things that they want.
Totally. And the more selfless, or it's not selfless I guess, but just thinking about kids, kids when you have a kid, it is a little different. There's a ton of toys and things at Jason's that I would grab. He would be the suitcase would be full of his little trinkets. But the one thing that it was so adorable, so I got a text from my wife at the time when they were in Target. I think it was Target or Walmart or somewhere, and he likes little people. The little, he's at the age where the little, not.
I was like,
the toy little people.
I thought he was talking about the costume that Allison's friend's friend.
Oh, no.
He is not my friend.
I said friend's friend.
Let's be clear.
Friend's friend.
Friend's acquaintance.
Friend's acquaintance.
But I guess he saw this toy and pointed at it and went and kept saying dad, and it's this little guy with
yeah, I see it.
So
Nice.
that's the and he still says it every when he plays with it, and he keeps it with his Power Ranger little people. So I just think that's cute. It's just there's a lot of things like that, little things that you kind of, I don't know, it's weird, not weirdly sentimental, but it's just crazy how that stuff happens out of nowhere. So, and I think that it's part of this, the charm of the movie we're talking about today is about home and the things you get attached to and the things you can't imagine getting attached to. And that movie is called Nowhere in Afrika, or NIRGENDWO in Afrika. I don't know. That's German, I'm guessing, is the original German title. I don't Do you have any idea how to speak any German? If that's, I'm sure I pronounced that wrong.
Besides Danke and Bitte and a few random German words, no. Yeah, that is German.
I assumed it was just because that's where it originated from, but
Well, at first I was like, could it be Swahili since
Ah,
it's the
yeah,
language of the
yeah.
film? But no.
that's a good thing to check. So, Nowhere in Africa. It was an automatic qualifier for a show, but unique in the sense, like we talked about Spirited Away back during Oscars month. And the unique thing about Spirited Away is that it was released in 2001 in its original country, Japan, but it didn't win its Oscar until 2003, which was outside of the. It was that year is the year where you would recognize movies that were released in 2002. Nowhere in Africa is the same exact situation. It was released in Germany in 2001, barely. I mean, we're really cutting it close on 2001 in this case. It was December 27th in Germany. So, and then it won the Oscar for Best Foreign Language Film. What was then called Best Foreign Language Film, now it's Best International Film. We've talked about that before as well. If you want to go back and listen to our show on No Man's Land, that's where we kind of have a really good discussion about the history of that category. It won that award in 2003. So, I don't know if you guys have just any thoughts about that in general before we kind of get started talking about the stats and stuff of the movie. I just think that's a weird, like, we would not be talking about this movie at all if it had come out 5 days later in Germany. Like, that's kind of the weird thing about this movie. I think even more.
Was this just a thing they did 25 years ago where like it had to be released in the US or whatever?
I think so, because it didn't.
Is that still a thing?
I don't think it is, Allison. Because I kept looking around trying to figure out what led to those distinctions. Like, I kind of understood it a little bit with Spirited Away, because Disney ended up handling its distribution in the U.S., and so I think it was, at the time at least, it was you had to be released in the U.S., or that's just how they did it. Like, they submitted it, maybe. I feel like now it would. I'm not going to say that isn't how it works now because I don't know, but I feel like it would just be so. It just would be more strange if it happened now. I think, like, if Parasite had been nominated for Best Picture 2 years later, it would have been weird.
I wonder if this is pure speculation on my part, but part of the ongoing argument for the Oscars is like, do people actually go and see all of these movies? And if you were in America in 2001, how would you see this movie if it had not yet been released? And now everything can be like streamed, and it's so easy to disperse media that maybe it's just not an issue anymore with, making sure that the people of the Academy would have the chance to see it. I mean, I know they sent screeners and stuff back then, but it just seems like it'd be a more difficult process if it wasn't already had been released here.
Well, and so to kind of that point, I had looked up its U.S. release date. I can't remember if I put it in the notes, but it didn't come out in America. It was like early March. That was like the dates I could find. And the ceremony that year was like the last week of March, or like the penultimate week of March. So that kind of tracks with they were really getting under the wire. But it would have had to been nominated before that. So I guess maybe it was eligible and then got, the domestic release or whatever. Oscars are weird. We've kind of deduced that during Oscars month in general, but kind of we'll be touching on some other movies that were nominated for Oscars throughout the year still. And I believe this is the last one we'll be talking about that won a significant award. No, I'm wrong. We will be talking about Shrek in a couple of weeks. So,
Training Day.
Well, I mean, when I say
performances.
significant, I'm thinking like the films themselves. Yeah, there's like training. Yeah, performance wise, we'll still be talking about some movies for sure. But yeah, so man, this and Shrek are so different movies. I'm not sure they have anything in common.
They're both big, wild adventures.
Well, yeah, sure. We'll go with that. They both have donkeys. Maybe. I don't know. I don't remember seeing a donkey.
I
in this
mean,
movie,
the
now that
kids at one point are like squishing their feet in a fresh pile of like animal shit.
Yeah,
Which I
that's
could see
something
Shrek.
that happens in Shrek, I'm sure.
I could see Shrek doing that.
Facts.
Okay, so Nowhere in Africa is an adaptation of what is called an autobiographical novel. We were having some conversation about that off mic. That I was unfamiliar with that as a phrase. It's effectively a novel that is an autobiography, but treated. So, like my book is like narrative nonfiction. It's like nonfiction. It's a fact based book, but it's kind of told with through like a more narrative structure, like you're telling a story. So I guess this is kind of like that, but for memoir, effectively. It's kind of like the based on a true story, Fast and the Furious sort of thing, right? Like you kind of take some liberties where you need to flesh out the story and do what you can to recreate some things. That was written. The book came out in 1995 from a journalist. Her name's Stefanie Zweig. She's a German lady, so I assume it's like Zweig or Zweig. It's spelled Zweig. If anybody's out there wants to come out and judge me on the pronunciation. It is about a displaced. The movie that is about a displaced Jewish family that immigrates to Kenya ahead of the Holocaust, and the various ways that they change during the time they inhabit the country. That's sort of how I distilled it down. I assume you think that's a fair assessment of what the movie is, more or less.
Yeah.
How did you describe it, Slate?
Yeah. In other words, if you want a shorter version of it, it is you could change the title of the movie from Nowhere in Africa to If Anne Frank Had Moved to Kenya.
Yeah. It's that's not. I mean, that's not a bad way to distill it down. If you're trying to
I'm not downplaying the movie itself or her.
No,
story,
no.
though,
But if you're like trying to explain it to someone just on its face, what the movie is, that's like to like just an average person who's never heard of this movie, which is probably everybody listening to this podcast. If I had to guess, I mean. I'd never heard about this movie until
especially the story is kind of framed around the little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily completely through her eyes, but I feel like she's generally sort of the point of view for most of it.
Yet she still narrates it, so like it is, but it isn't. It is odd, right? Like how they do it, but I mean, yeah, like it's legitimately like if Anne Frank and her family, instead of deciding to hide in an attic, had somehow been able to make their way out of Germany and into Africa and feel like they're in a safer space away from the Nazis, and then realizing that you're away from the Nazis, but you're also like still having them affect your lives, even though you're so far away, and the impact that has. And that's the interesting part of it, honestly, for this movie, for me.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into that and talk about it. Just some quick background on the movie before we do that. I actually want to start with the Oscar race that year. It beat several movies. Well, obviously it beat 4 other movies. The Crime of Padre Amaro from Mexico, Hero from China, which I think of these 5 movies is probably the most recognizable one. It's the only one that I was familiar with looking at the list previously. Hero, it's a Jet Li movie. It was a big kind of a big deal at the time. It's one that you can find it like at Goodwill and stuff. Like I see it occasionally out there. It was the kind of one that crossed into the mainstream a little bit. The Man Without a Past from Finland, and Zeus and Zoe from the Netherlands, which is probably the least heard of movie on this of these 5. And it's about I believe it's about an older man or somebody that it's about a gay guy, but I can't remember if it's like the father decides he figures out that he's gay or something and comes out of it's like a family drama thing, but also like a kind of a comedy. It sounded pretty interesting, but
all of these movies sound interesting. Like this sounds like a really good group of foreign films.
I think so too, especially the one
The Crime of
really enjoyed
Padre
this
Amaro.
movie. But yeah, that one's really interesting.
And The Man Without a Past both sound like movies I would like to check out.
It seems like a good race. Like it seems like it was a really strong year for the category. They all seem like they could have been worthy winners. The only difference between those movies and this one is they actually all premiered in 2002, so in their native countries, which I might have a beef if I was any of those four other movies with this movie that didn't come out in 2002 winning. It did. It was a big winner. It won several German film awards, and it was, including Best Supporting Actor for Matthias Habisch, who plays a character in the movie called, it's Suskind? He's another, we'll get more into the cast later, but he's a fairly minor character in the movie relatively to the rest of them. So I thought it was interesting that he was the one that won an award, but you kind of get to reading about him. He's a pretty significant German actor, so it kind of makes sense that he would have been the guy that got recognized. And he was actually in her first movie, her debut movie, Beyond Silence. He's he's another kind of big supporting character in that movie too, so that's kind of cool. It also was Unified Germany's first film that won the Best International Film Award. For people that, for the Gen Z listeners, Germany used to be two countries for a while. East and West Germany, and
following World War II.
Yeah, following the war at the center of this film, or in the background of the film, I guess rather. The Tin Drum won out of West Germany in 1979. So I don't know how, I assume they count that towards Germany's actual, history, and when you're talking the current count. The country has also produced The Lives of Others, which came out in 2006, and All Quiet on the Western Front in 2022, which I wasn't aware that movie, one, had come out, and that it was an Oscar winner, and that there was another...
German?
Yeah, a German version of that. That movie it's like the third adaptation of that movie, or of that book, and because the American version is also like a really significant big movie.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting that it was able to come out. I guess it was good. I mean, like it must have been a pretty good movie.
See, I feel like when I watched All Quiet on the Western Front on Netflix, when it was
it's on Netflix. Yeah,
when it was getting the I guess Oscar push that it was getting, I thought it was an American movie, but I thought when I watched it that it was just dubbed over, and you could tell that it was a foreign film. So I don't think there is an American version of it. I think it's just the 2006 or 2000.
No, there is an American
22 version.
There is a All Quiet on the West, like from back in the day. Like,
okay. I was
the,
all right. I got you. When I was watching the 2022 movie, I was like, well, "This is a foreign movie." I didn't realize it was German though. But okay, all right, that makes sense. I thought you meant after 2022 there was another version that was American. I was like, no, I don't think that's okay. Gotcha.
Sorry, no. So there was So listen to this. So now we're on this tangent. I like this. So there was a 1930 version which won. Best director and best it was called outstanding production at the time, but now that award is best picture. And then in 1979 there was a TV British version that won a Golden Globe and an Emmy. And then this German adaptation that won best international film. So it's just it must be the greatest book that's ever been written, apparently, because it just keeps producing great movies, apparently. So it grossed, Nowhere in Africa grossed 24.3 million worldwide. 6.1 million of that was here once it came out in that March of 2003. 7.5 stars on IMDb from users. That's with 15,000 ratings. So, that's a pretty great score. 85% favorable critic score with 101 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. 88% audience score with 5,000 plus ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. So pretty aligned there. 3.6 stars on Letterboxd, 4,000 plus ratings. I haven't used Letterboxd long enough to know how to gauge that, but I think basically anything 3 and above is a pretty solid, strong score there, typically, from what I can gather. It's German language primarily, but there's a lot of Swahili and some English as well. But largely filmed in Kenya, which I just was kind of, I love it. I love it. It's such a beautiful location, and I know we'll talk about that. But also like thinking about it, because it's a German movie that won Best Picture, and it got me thinking, but if it's mostly in Africa, could they I just think about like how do they go about deciding like that kind of stuff, like what country is it really, winning? Because you could argue like, so Kenya's never won an Oscar, but you could totally argue like this should be like a represent Kenya as much as Germany, if not more than Germany.
Honorary Oscar.
So, and that got me thinking, like, Africa has produced a few Oscar winners, the continent. Z, which is from Algeria, Black and White in Color, 1976, from the Ivory Coast, and South Africa's Tsotsi. I'm totally butchering this pronunciation. It's Tsotsi, 2006. That was the first one to win that wasn't a French language film. It was it used African languages, so kind of cool. Caroline Link, the director of this movie, wasn't present to accept the Oscar in 2003 for this movie. The story I could find is that her child was sick. I can't verify that. I have no idea of knowing whether that's true or not. But so the presenter that year for the award was Selma Hayek, who, if you watch the video of the presentation, does not seem very pleased that this movie won.
Because movies have found favor around the world, the Academy recognizes the excellence of our colleagues whose films in all languages make a community of this globe. And here are the nominees for Best Foreign Language Film of the Year. And the Oscar goes to Germany for Nowhere in Africa. The Academy congratulates Caroline Link and accepts this award on her behalf.
There was a Mexican movie that was in the running. We mentioned earlier, The Crime of Padre Amaro, and it got an incredible pop in the room. Like when you watch that video, like they all get nice applause, but when like that one gets mentioned, it's like rockets. Like it must have been the case. Like either that movie was really beloved, or was considered the front runner. I don't know. I didn't do a lot of deep dive on this, but at the time, it was the highest grossing movie to ever come out of Mexico. So it was a big deal. It's still in the top 15 since in gross from Mexico, which is pretty crazy. 26 years later, or 25 years later, that's still the case. And then Mexico went on 17 years later and won its first Oscar with Roma, directed by Alfonso Cuarón. And that is also the last movie that was nominated out of Mexico for Best International Picture. Whatever the hell it's called now.
Best foreign film, Josh.
Best foreign
it's
film.
Fine. We're all doing fine.
I'm fine. So, like I said, directed by Caroline Link, who before this she had directed 2 movies prior, Beyond Silence and Annalise and Anton. The former was also nominated for Best International Picture, Foreign Film, whatever. So that's kind of cool. Like it's like her first movie was also an Oscar recognized. It was nominated for an Oscar. She has directed 4 movies since then. The latest is It's called When Hitler Stole Pink Rabbit. Had any of you guys heard of that movie? I was familiar with the title well before doing this show just because I remember seeing it and thinking it was weird, but I couldn't have told you anything about it. And I still can't tell you anything about it. But other than it is kind of similar to this one in terms of its creation. It's a semi-autobiographical novel and explores a Jewish family's escape from Germany ahead of the Nazi Party's ascent, and living as refugees. So it's similar ground to this one. So I wish I could have watched it before this, but alas, life gets in the way. She was a production assistant on movies before, as working in high school in Munich before she moved to America for a year. She worked as a nanny while she was over here and didn't really kind of know what she wanted to do. So I guess she went back to Germany and decided to work as a PA a little bit longer, and kind of got interested in working behind the camera after that. And that curiosity led her to an internship, and then she entered the University of Television and Film in Munich. And now we get to where we are now, where she's directed a Best Picture, or a Best International Picture, and wrote it, and all of that good stuff. So I've got a lot of more stuff about the production of this movie in here, people, names, and whatnot. The only other thing I wanted to bring up behind its production is that the main company behind it is Constantine Film. They're based in Munich. They're a very significant company in Germany, and they actually have had a hand in two of the biggest franchises in American movies in the time that we've been alive, and that covering since 2001. Fantastic Four and Resident Evil. They have a significant hand in both of those franchises, oddly enough, including the new Resident Evil that's coming out this year. They're a producer on that film. I'm excited about that one. I've never seen any of the Resident Evil movies, but I like what Zach Kreger's done up to this point, and I'm pretty excited from what I've heard about that movie, what he's doing with it. They were also in this current year that we're all existing in at the time of recording, 2026. They were a producer on Psycho Killer and Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die.
Oh,
which,
hey.
both
Okay.
came out earlier in the year. So kind of cool. They're a fairly, I mean, they're a big company. Like they're only behind in Germany behind Disney and Warner Brothers for like film production. So pretty big company. The cast: Julianne Cooler. She plays Jettel, who I just wrote the mom character. Marab Ninidids. I'm struggling with these names. He plays Walter, who is the dad character. Leah Kirka, she is the daughter in this movie. The kind of, like Allison mentioned, a lot of the movie is framed through her point of view. This movie, for about half the movie, she's like a kind of a younger girl, probably like 7, 8, somewhere in that ballpark, maybe 6, maybe a little younger than that. So she plays the younger version of that character, Regina, and then Caroline Eckertz plays the older version, like a teen, high school age, well, more like middle school age version of that character, Regina, an older character. And then we mentioned Matthias Habich earlier, who is also in Enemy at the Gates this year for another 2001 movie that we've talked about, not on the show, but it's come up in passing before. And the character that I feel is the heart of the movie and who is the most interesting, I think the most interesting character in the movie in a lot of ways, played by Sadide Anyulo Uwar. He's a cook. That's the easiest way to describe him in a word. He's the family's cook, but he's kind of, he's really the person who he doesn't act as a translator, but he's like the thing that
he helps them assimilate to the culture.
Yeah, he's their bridge to Kenya,
and like he really raises Regina, honestly, more than her parents do.
Yeah. That's so that's a good segue into what did we think of this movie? What did you guys think of this movie? We can just go right into it from there.
I thought this was really interesting to see. I mean, you feel like you've seen every take on the Holocaust or World War II that you think you can possibly see, but then something like this, which I had never heard of before, and this is a story that I haven't seen before, and I found that interesting. I also just find this movie really heartbreaking and kind of hard to watch, but in a good way, if that makes sense. I think it's an important movie. Honestly, at this point, any movie that reminds us that the Holocaust did happen and this country is kind of heading down similar roads, anything that we can do to remind people of how awful that was and how cruel, but how easily a large group of people can fall into that trap.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I didn't know anything about it when I put it on. You can watch it for free on YouTube, and I found it, put it on there, and was like, okay, let's see what this movie's about. Like, I kind of went in completely blind, and I really enjoyed it. I'm a sucker for pretty much anything World War II related, but it's one of those ones that it's like, this is a completely different twist that you take on it. Like, in a sense that, like we talked about earlier, it's more about like them trying to adjust to from being rich lawyers and having this wealthy lifestyle to now living on a farm with like no water hardly, like no, all of this stuff in Africa. They don't speak the language, they look different. And honestly, like the mother and her relationship and her view of the Kenyans and how she doesn't want her daughter associating with them, going in their huts, and how she treats Uwar, and the father calls her out on it and is like, you're treating them no differently than the Germans treated us. And like seeing that whole dynamic, because I was thinking it when it happened.
Oh,
and
yeah,
like,
right
you,
away.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's like, it's crazy to see like that. We see that today, like, like people that are, hold on, I'm sorry, guys. What?
Can you give me a color?
Sophia, I'm on a podcast. Really?
Please.
Do not interrupt. Purple, go away.
Okay.
I was in the middle of something. Don't do that.
He's talking about the Holocaust over here.
Oh my god. Fucking color, really? Okay. Anyways, back to what I was saying. She's gonna be grounded.
Well, so the Walter, the dad character, sort of starts off as maybe the hero,
Yeah.
sort of the story. He is the one who went to Africa first, I guess, to scout ahead, and he's so sick in the beginning. OR and some doctor, I guess, save him with, as you put here, rural medicine.
Yeah.
And so when the mom does arrive, she's kind of the counter. She's almost like a villain because she's just so mad by it. And it is interesting how by the end of the movie, it's not that they've switched places, but I found it so disappointing, his reaction when like he realizes that he can go home and he can become a judge or what. He's just like, this is just, I know we lived here and they saved us, but like, this was just a stopping point along the way. Whereas she's really embraced being
the
there.
new lifestyle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It is weird in that sense because like also my first thought when the mom gets there and her whole approach to everything is like, bitch, would you rather be like in Germany living in an attic hiding from people scared for the rest of your life? Like you're not even able to walk down the street. At least here you have like land and you're like surely you don't think it would be better to be there than it is to be here. You know what I mean?
It's
like,
kind of weird because she's so scared at the beginning, like when they're playing in the snow and she falls and the SS officer helps her up.
Right.
And they just like have this weird.
well, because her hair shows and she shows clearly that she's not blonde hair, blue-eyed.
She also kind of seems to be in denial that anything really, really bad would actually happen because she keeps alluding to like her family who's still there and.
Well, she's doing the whole naive thing that a lot of us do, where we just kind of put our head in the sand. It's like, I can't get that bad, and then it gets worse.
Yeah, that right there is the thing I kept. As I was watching this, when I started watching it the first time, I try not to like look for things or search for things, but I couldn't help but like look up the Holocaust while I was watching it, and it's like it's something I've read about. Like you're familiar with it, you grow up, you hear these things, and but like it's the first time I'd really like sat and read about it for a minute and just reminding yourself like millions of people were murdered by not a progressive state, but a Western, like a civilized state. Like this was an organized killing of millions of people that happened not in our lifetimes, but in the lifetimes of people that we have known in our lifetimes. And the ramifications of that are felt, definitely super felt today. I mean, Allison, you mentioned like reminding people that it exists is important because you have a not insignificant amount of people out there who pretend and don't believe that it existed or that it happened. And just that, but also there's that element of the person who was living at that time who didn't think that was possible. Was not. It's that exists today and it existed then. Like, people don't, we haven't changed a whole lot in 100 years. Like, we really do. We are all people who kind of just naturally, most of us don't handle problems or face problems until they're right in front of us. And in Jedal's case, they were living what seemed like a pretty nice life, working like a pretty middle upper class life in Germany. And she seemed more worried about leaving her family than she did trying to survive. Like, she seemed more concerned about what her mom was going to think about them leaving than she did, like, the fact that if she stayed, she was going to face, at that time, probably didn't even think that something like gas chambers was even on the table. It was probably, she just thought they might just make us go live somewhere else or something, like it was. So
she spent her last
she's
little
an
bit of
interesting
money.
character. Like,
she spent her last little bit of money that her husband told her not to spend and not to waste money on a damn nightgown that she didn't even fucking wear.
It's okay. Yeah. It's a ball gown, first of all. It's a fancy dress. And I, like, by the end, I was kind of like, you know what? I kind of, like, get where her mind was at. But it is really funny whenever she's like, where did you get that dress? She's like, I bought it with our last bit of money. Yep. It's like, what the fuck?
She got there and
I told you to bring a refrigerator.
Yeah, he also told her not to bring to bring a refrigerator and explicitly not to bring the fine china that
she brought
would have no purpose whatsoever in Kenya, and wasn't worth anything. Because that's the interesting dynamic too. Is you're a wealthy family in Germany with all these possessions that in Germany would in theory be valuable if you had to get rid of them or sell them or whatever, and you bring them to this country where they have no significance whatsoever. And it's just a fascinating.
It's even funnier, I think, in the context of today, because I don't know, like, if your parents were like this, but my mom was like, had multiple sets of fine china, and that was such a thing. Like, when my sister and I were becoming adults, it was just like, oh, you need to make sure you get a hutch and that you have fine china. And my sister, like, does have that. I'm like, I don't want that shit. Why would I want that? Why do I need to have dishes that I'm going to use maybe twice a year that just take up a bunch of space? I don't. That is so like a boomer. Mm-hmm. Gen X. Maybe Gen X was the last generation to kind of care about that, but it's even funnier to me now that, like, you brought those fucking dishes.
Yeah,
dishes. Okay. That probably weighed 1 billion pounds in that box.
Yeah, you're eating, and think about what you're eating on those dishes. Like, the nastiest potatoes. Like,
poor
whatever.
Family can't even eat a chicken. That's the worst part about it.
Yeah, it's such a. So yeah, they live on this farm that the first kind of things that's going on in this movie is the dad is dying. Like you said, you brought it up, and he, the doctor, it's interesting because I even think it seems like the doctor is almost like kind of
annoyed,
chalked him up as a lost cause. Like,
yeah,
oh, this loser from Germany is just going to die. Like, just let's let
He's
him
like,
die.
here,
It's
just
fine.
give him this and see what happens. And then Uwar's like, you know what? I'll do that, but I'm also going to, like, make him some African medicine.
Yeah, I'm going to do the stuff that we do here for our people. And
he has malaria.
Yeah, he has malaria. Like, and guess who knows how to deal with malaria? The fucking guy who's lived in Kenya his whole life. Like, shocker. Like, he might know a thing or two. Can you believe it? And that just right from the gate, it's like it's setting you up to think of Uwar as, it challenges, especially I think at the time this movie came out, it challenges, like, at least, I mean, I'll say this about myself, and for a long time, I do have this idea of, like, Africa, like, as this is Kenya, it's specifically Kenya, but, like, you just think of Africa a lot of times as this just big monolithic place where you're sort of conditioned coming up in this country as a kid, like, oh, that's just this place where a bunch of people who aren't civilized live, or they don't have a lot of things, and they have these weird customs, and, like, I'm just saying things that, like, you just grow up learning, and right away you see this guy doing something that is quote unquote weird, but saves this guy's life, and it's because they deal with this stuff and they know how to treat it, and I don't even know if that's accurate. Like, I don't care, and I don't care if that's accurate in the context of the movie. It's really powerful because it's positioned him right away as somebody who is an authority in this space and cares about someone who, like, he doesn't have any reason to really care about this guy. He's just kind of, other than like he's his boss in theory, like he's trying to keep his livelihood going, but he could probably go work on another farm just fine. Like he's a very skilled individual as a cook. Like he could go work somewhere else. It's not like this is the only place he could work. I don't get that impression, at least.
He could teach them the lessons like the hard way. Honestly, like he could be like, "Oh, you stubborn people," and especially like with the way that the mother treats him, he could be rude. And he's not. He shows them so much grace and kindness that like they really don't deserve, at least for the most part, I think, at the beginning of the movie. And like treats them as his own family, even though he's like left his family to help make this family here succeed. And it's, he spends far more time with them than he does his own family.
Families, because he's
exactly.
three wives.
Exactly. Well, I didn't want to, but yeah.
Well, because he comments about that, like being away from his family later in the movie, and you learn, he has 3 wives, and he likes
7 kids. Is that right?
I think 7 kids, and I mean, he has some great quotes in the movie. He does. Like, I mean, he says something like,
"White women are helpless. Black women are." She's like, "How could you leave your wives alone? You white women are helpless. Yeah. Black women are."
It's so good. Like and there's that scene at the watering hole where Jettel is like struggling to carry a
See, I wish he had told her no. Like, if I do this for you,
I had the same thing. I was like, man, like
she's got to learn.
Like she needs to learn and then like I love though the react because he does help her, and then all of the black women that are like that he's grown up with or knows or whatever, and they're like basically making fun of him.
They're like, "Oh, it's too heavy for me too. Help me!"
It's so good. It's so funny.
They're like the little soot sprites in
they are.
Spirited Away.
Yeah, that's exactly what they are.
They're doing the same thing. Yeah.
I wish he did at least look at her and been like, "See what you started? Like, you see what you did."
But yeah, he really is the core of this movie, and I think I think it's a really great movie. I can see why it won all the awards it did, but it doesn't. You could take him out of the movie and it would be fine and still maybe be a really good movie, but like he is at the center of so much of why everything feels like it matters in a way that I don't know that it would if he's not there. If that makes sense. I don't know if I'm landing that exactly, but because there's so much about, especially because towards the middle part of the movie, you end up he doesn't go missing, but like Regina starts going to a school, and they have other things that happen. They get put in an internment camp.
Even before that, they get put in the camp before she goes to school, and he has to stay and take care of the farm. And she's like, come find us. And he's like, I'll find you.
Yeah, you feel the weight of him being gone in his family's life, even though they've lived there for a little bit by that point, and do have their bearings about them a little bit. And it's the whole family missing, but really Regina is like so connected to this character. And so in the movie, I should have mentioned this. Regina in the movie is Stefanie Zweig. Like they changed the character's name for the movie, but that's the author of the novel. And it's like when you read some stuff that she's written about the book and her in the movie, like she has a quote that's something like the first man I ever loved was Uwar. Like she talks about how powerful like this guy was in her life, and you can see it. I feel like we really see it on screen in the actors, the way that they portray those characters. And I don't know. I just think just that relationship it's one of the best relationships I think we've seen on screen over the time that we've been doing it. And it's not a love. It's a familial relationship. It's like basically it is like a father-daughter relationship. And God, I mean, when they, we've talked about it. the dad, by the end, they want to leave the country to go back to Germany, and we can talk more about that. But when they separate and the way that Uor like walks off, it's so sad. Like it's so, but it's sad, but also like, you know, it feels like that's the way it had to go, you know, given the decisions they made. And it's just so, I don't know, it's so touching. It's a very touching movie. It's a very long movie. It's almost 2.5 hours, but and it I would say does feel that way at times, but it's still like, I mean, I don't think there's anything you can take out of it either that would. I don't think it's rare. I don't think that I could pinpoint something to remove from it that would make that feel better. You know, I think it had to be what it is.
I think it's so interesting that both of the parents, obviously, they're adults when they come into Kenya, and they just have, again, Walter is much more open and welcoming, and chastising his wife for don't be fucking racist. Like they're helping us here. But even he, toward the end, is willing to leave. But they kind of come in like having culturally known about, I guess, Kenya and having preconceived notions, and that is kind of affecting their decisions. Whereas Regina's so young when they move there. It's just so interesting. She just picks everything up so easily. She fits in with the kids, even though
she wants to be one of them. She's
like, we're, I can see that we're different, but like, I'm going to hang out with you and I'm going to take my shirt off and climb in a tree because that's, women
that's
here
the
don't wear
culture
shirt.
here.
And it's the culture. And she kind of acknowledges, I guess, that I think she's like, oh, come watch this ceremony. And she doesn't say that it's weird, but she kind of like, I guess she makes some comment about like, it's kind of strange, but hey, this is what they do here, Mom. Like, come with this, and it's an honor to be there. And it's, I don't know, kids learn terrible things from their parents,
Yep.
whether directly or indirectly, and it's having OR as her real family figure, I think, and he is so kind and open, and she's so young and just moldable at that point that it's like, wow, it's really amazing to see a kid grow up and not be, they say something about, you've got it in here, differences are valuable. And she's just grown up learning that.
Knowing that. Yeah.
Instead of being like, differences are scary and I don't like you because you're different.
Yeah, because that's what happens, right? I mean, like you wouldn't naturally think of this life that you're in being strange if that's what you were in. Now, she was a child in Germany before this and had some idea of what that life was like, but obviously still at a very formative age when they get to Kenya. And yeah, why would you think it's weird to want to have a pet antelope? And then also kind of, but then that's one of my favorite lines. I pulled it out here. It's
when she says she's not a good mother.
Yeah, like, yeah, I'm not a good mother for an antelope baby. And which, because I thought of you, Allison, because like, well, that seems like something a precocious child would say in some ways, but it's also like, it's the kind of thing you would probably learn as a kid, any kid, like immigrant or not, in Kenya. You might think, oh, I want to have this antelope as a pet and treat it like a dog or something, and you would probably have that experience of figuring out like, oh no, this is not something I should do, like, and learn it the same way she learned it, which is something killed it. And it's just such a it's weird. I think you also mentioned that it's a Holocaust story, a World War II movie. It's a Holocaust World War II movie because these things are happening in the background of the movie, but they are in the background for the most part. It's really
more about a coming of age story and her growing up and how her life was shaped by the war as a child. And it's funny because too, like, the actions of her parents shape her, but don't shape her in the same way. But she doesn't follow them, like, in the sense that she becomes pretty aware at a young age of her mother's
Indiscretions.
Indiscretions or the way that her mother uses her infidelity to get what she wants, in a sense. And you don't see that with her, even with the boy that she's being flirtatious with, that is some sort of a semi boyfriend girlfriend / friendship relationship when she's 14 years old, and she knows she's not supposed to take her top off anymore. She's old enough to be a woman, but she does it anyways. But she does it innocently, not like to get what she wants. You know what I mean?
It's not. She's not doing it. Yeah,
she doesn't. She sees
promiscuously.
right. She sees my mother did this to get us out of here and to get us on a new farm and to get us all these things, and so like instantly you would think an 8, 9, 10-year-old child that sees that would think, if I want something, I have to use myself to go get it, and she doesn't. Like throughout this movie, which was nice to see, but she's also being shaped by the decisions. She's just going her own way about it, which is, I don't know. It's refreshing, and I enjoyed that aspect of it. And her, like, the way she calls her mother out on it, even with Siskind, towards the end. And that relationship is another one that's like, did they, are they, will they? You know what I mean? Like, and he even tells her, like, please don't do this to me. But then, whenever the husband decides that the husband wants to move, he's like, if you decided to live with me, I would be the happiest man. And it's like, it feels icky, but it also feels pure and genuine at the same time. It's so
it feels
weird.
real. That's the you hit it there. It's real, because I think people, especially in a situation where, because Susskind is another German immigrant who fled to Kenya in 33.
33, I think they say.
Yeah,
So
and
he's been there 5 years.
And I believe.
And he tells you flat out, like, I'm kind of a sleazeball. I like married women. Like, that's one of the first things he says.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, the first scene that you see him in, he's pretty open about kind of what he's about, and he makes it clear that he has no interest in returning to Germany ever. Like I think he saw the writing on the wall with the Nazi Party earlier than this family did, and got out, and he's made a life for himself, and he was able, I guess he got out before, like, they were, because I think part of the situation with this family is, they had taken their money, like they had lesser paths out of the country, by this point. Things were getting worse. The worst of it hadn't started yet, but it was coming. It was right around the corner. And Susskind had gotten out well before that area of this had started. So he was able to come and make a pretty good life for himself in Kenya. And so that dynamic is in play too. Jettel is aware of this person who is like them, but also is more well off than them in this country as well. And I think that's an interesting dynamic too.
Well, and seems to have, like, her husband gets chastised by, is it the farm owner?
Yes.
Who comes and he's like yelling at him because he hasn't found water yet, and
he's trying to dig a well.
Just dresses him down in front of her, and it's so uncomfortable. And you're like, yeah, he's really a fish out of water here, and hasn't figured things out yet.
And also, she doesn't think, like, I think there's probably part of her that's like it's her, like, her first time seeing her husband probably spoken to that way, and this person that presumably she has respect for is being treated this way.
He's being emasculated.
Yeah, and doesn't, like, she doesn't know how to respond to that either, which I think is fair. And it's just there's so many layers to everybody. It's like the husband, like Walter, the husband, it is so interesting by the end that he is the one early on that seems the most willing to embrace this country outside, because Regina shows up and she seems right away like into it too, like once she gets there. But he has been saved by Uwar, and I think has a lot of respect for Uwar. Like, it's clear that I think he has a lot of respect for him, but that he's so eager to go back, and it's out of goodness. He wants to, like, help rebuild Germany into a better country,
and to rebuild the Jewish community as far as, like, being respected and successful and part of that society. Because I mean, I could see where 95% of Jews would be like, "Fuck that!" Like, why would?
Oh
I ever
yeah,
go
yeah.
back?
They
You
would be
know?
like Suskin, where like, yeah, why the hell would I want to go back to that fucking place? Like, because they didn't protect me before. Like, yeah, so yeah, I can. That's the dynamic that's happening here. Is you really got both sides of that present in this movie by the end, and it's interesting though. But it's also weird not to think that part of his motivation is also like, yeah, I want to get my wife away from this man. I mean, if we're being honest, and because she's willing to go back home, and it's clearly like, I mean, they're really having a good time by the end of this movie with one another, but probably
See,
some
I'm
of the
not
most real
sure that
sex
they were though.
That,
Like, I feel like that I don't know that they ever crossed that line. Like, I feel like it's hinted at that they might have.
He's talking about Walter.
I'm
and
talking about
Gettle,
Walter and Jettle.
not
Okay.
Suskind.
I
They're
got you.
having.
No,
there's
yeah, they're having a
multiple-
lot. They're
multiple scenes of them having sex. Basically, once it's announced that like Hitler's regime has fallen, and it cuts to them
Right.
just like
Okay.
going at it. It's like, okay.
yeah, they're like having a. I mean, you did? I know you were watching.
No,
on
you
YouTube, like,
see it. Yep, it's there.
I mean, we got some good sex scenes in this movie. Like, it's pretty good stuff, and but it is like one of those things where it is hard not to think like, okay, yeah, it's good now, but 2 years from now, would she have still been satisfied with kind of the situation? And I got the impression she was really coming around to being in this country and living this
Yeah,
life.
I don't think she wanted to leave. That was the impression I got, that
Mhm.
she had,
No.
figured things out and made a home.
Yeah.
But even
When the locust came, she was ready to save the farm. Like, she was
Yeah.
all in,
his father was still in Germany, and she has a conversation with him before they leave, and she's like, "Oh, I'm really going to miss you." And he makes some comment to her about, in a marriage, there's always one person who loves the other more than that person loves them. And he just says something like, "My son really, really loves you," which kind of insinuates that Walter is more into her than she is into him, which is kind of, I don't, the fact that she's like managed to have two sort of affairs while she's in Africa, and I'm like, well, there might be something to that.
Yeah, it is because there is like, I mean, honestly, maybe the happiest version of this movie is Jettle stays in Africa, because even the last shot is like she seems, they're on a train and she's trying to take fruit from like somebody along who's kind of help sell fruit along the train tracks, and I don't know, like the last shots of that woman that was selling fruit running, kind of open in a field, and I don't know, you just get the sense like the message is effectively like, look how liberated she is versus what you're going back to, in a way, because not that life for that woman who is out selling fruit on the side of the train track is easy, but the kind of impression I get is her life is more, she's more in control of her life than what Jettle is going to be going back to Germany.
Can we talk about this? You got it in your notes. So these people show up, and they take Walter he goes to a different place. Is he like forced to become a soldier, and then she's interned?
Yeah, I think he was having to be used as a British soldier was the
Is it
impression I
basically
got.
they were just like, well, you're from Germany and you're the bad guys, and they were trying to kill us there.
It's so weird. It's like such a
is.
strange,
like
when you think about how humans treat each other, like it's maybe the strange, and we're talking about the Holocaust in this movie, but this might be even weirder in the context of the movie, like how people.
But then
handle
they're
these things.
imprisoned at this fancy hotel, which is even funnier.
Yeah, the best prison you could possibly be in. People, I've got my notes is explicitly what I have written is bitches turning down lobster.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean they feel
Jesus,
like they feel like Rose's mom on the Titanic, where where they're having their dinner and just like who gives a shit or whatever. But it is really an interesting like dynamic in the sense that like, yeah, they're like, well, you guys are going in these prisoner war camps, but we're gonna treat you really well, but you're still like a like under arrest, if you will, and being held captive because you're German. And they have to explain to him like, we hate the Germans just as much as you do. We're from Germany, but we're Jewish, like, and then getting them to sign up for the war, and well, making the husband sign up for the war, and putting him in the army and everything, and which is an odd thing to do because if you don't trust them,
I know, that's what I
you
was
could just shoot
your.
you. Let's give a guy that we think is going to fight for the Germans a gun and tell him to fight for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do love when someone comments when they're staying at this hotel prison and they're like, why is the chef going to so much work? And they're like, this hotel has standards, okay?
Yeah.
And we are going to keep up our standards for these prisoners. I was like, damn.
You wouldn't get that in America.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's...
Also, the school that she gets sent to, making the Jewish kids stand out in the hallway while the other kids are doing like the Lord's Prayer or whatever. I'm like, oh God, this is the quote unquote civilized,
Yeah.
And then the headmaster, was it when she comes in and he's just like, how are you so smart? You're Jewish. So I'm just like, oh my God, this little girl was so composed.
Mm-hmm.
And like it didn't get mad, and I'm just like, oh God, what an asshole.
But she taught him a thing or two as well, and I think he respected her for that, like with how that whole situation plays out. Honestly, I think my favorite part of this whole movie that really like tug at my heartstrings was her first time coming back from school and Uwar picking her up. Just like,
she just drops all her stuff and runs.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
It really was. It really was. Like it's such a heartfelt movie. Like it's crazy how much I just love their relationship.
There are points where it feels like, and I'm glad it doesn't go into this territory, but like you can see like what the Disney version of this movie would look like, and it would play up a lot of that stuff. Like you would get way more of the Uwar, Regina stuff, and he probably would have went and moved to Germany with them, like, and he would have been probably making wisecracks or something. Like it would have been really silly. And I love, like, just every part of it feels so authentic. That's the thing. Like every character feels very, there aren't a lot of characters. Like it's a very tight cast, and it's, you have a lot of supporting characters once you get into the bigger setting with the internment camp and stuff.
But every relationship is detailed so like well between the mix of characters, and her relationship with Uwar versus the mothers and versus the fathers, and Suskin's relationship with both of the parents and the daughter as well, and like how it all intertwines and everything is just so. It is perfect, and it feels like she stayed true to who those people actually were, and that's why it works versus making it more Hollywood or dramatic, making it more dramatic and adding some flair to their characters. Like, yeah, it just felt real and natural. It felt like these actors were the people, and we're just watching a documentary.
I also felt like it's in any other movie. So when she's a teenager, and I guess she can't sleep, and she goes and gets in bed with OR, Regina does. And any other movie that would have sit like your hair's like coming up on your neck, like, but it legitimately just felt like she was going and like getting in bed with her father because she couldn't sleep. It didn't seem creepy at all. Yeah.
And it feels like something that's really good in this, and I watched Beyond Silence before this too, her first movie, Caroline Link's first movie, and it's also very good. It's a very different movie. It's much smaller. It's a smaller drama type thing. And I think this is a better movie. It's certainly a bigger movie, and has some. And we haven't even talked about like the landscapes and so many of the shots, like just how beautiful this country looks on film. Like there's I bought the Blu-ray. Kino Lorber put out a Blu-ray. They're like a smaller boutique company, and highly recommend that if you're somebody who's out there and you want to try to watch like the highest quality version of this movie. I would recommend it. It's really really good. But something that's good in Beyond Silence, and it's good here too, is like Regina, because that movie is also about a character who it's viewed through a lens of a kind of a girl who there's an age time gap in the movie where you have an older daughter by the end of the movie than you started with, and both movies handle how the dynamic of the relationship between the daughter and the parents in such a great way, like where like and especially here because she witnesses so much like not lousy behavior, but stuff from her parents that maybe she shouldn't see.
So they fight. They fight a lot.
Yeah, and
And I'm
things
like,
that they
this
say.
is. I know she can probably hear everything that they're yelling at each other for.
And talks to them both like she doesn't seem to like lose respect for them, like not fully, like she's like there's times where you can tell like she's struggling to kind of see where they're coming from, but there's such just a real kind of relationship there that never dissolves between any of them, and it's just so cool to see that because when you watch so many movies where it's just more simplistic, those kind of relationships, and even in dramas, like even in like really good dramas where you just like and 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 I thought about this while we were watching the others too, like are just like non-American kids better at acting? Because like I never felt like watching this movie too, or I mean maybe it's just because we're seeing like the best of the best, but man, like these kid actors from like Mexico and Spain and Germany, like they're good. Like
Yeah,
like
I mean, I think we're seeing the best of the best. Probably is a good, as being in America here, we're seeing child actors are all over the place, and obviously Disney is just designed to turn kids into stars. So we see a lot more crap and filler, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're seeing like the Haley Joel Osment of these countries every time we're watching a movie. A lot of times, like that's probably what's going on.
But like back to her, Regina and her mom is still kind of maintaining this relationship. But they're toward the end, Regina puts on that gown that Yettel bought, with the last of their money, and she's like, I can see why you bought this. It's really nice. It's just like she's kind of having this understanding, I guess, of like it wasn't a good decision, but like I kind of get it.
Well, and she's also, I'm glad you brought that up, Allison. That's kind of the last thing I want to touch on that's interesting about Regina.
She
So
wears
she
it
does that.
to the big event at the end, right?
Yeah, she does it. She wears it to the event, and at that event, her boyfriend type guy sort of looks. They look at each other during that, and it's like almost like kind of like an understanding at that point. Like I can't remember if they've decided to leave. I don't think they've decided to leave at that point, but it's almost like at that point is where it's coming because they sort of look at each other in a way where it's like he feels that she's leaving, and then in the scene before the locust attack and they have to go, they go back and save the farm, she says something to her dad who is leaving at that point, and she says something to the effect, if it's something like, I don't know why, but I don't feel like I don't like that I'm doing this. And she was just like peeling potatoes or something, like something she's done a bunch, like something that and to me that was almost her. It was like her without being able to vocalize what she was feeling. Like it's like she was starting to feel that I'm not, quote unquote supposed to be here, or I'm missing out on something that was taken from me, through no circumstances, just through bad circumstances. And, she's starting to struggle with that. And she's also entering adolescence and like all the other things that are coming with that. And, it's her way of sort of, or the film's way of acknowledging that this girl who is, as much as she has enjoyed this experience and adapted to this experience really well, is still also struggling with like, what is my identity and what am I doing here and should I be here? And it's an interesting way to deal with that with her too, because she's still at a crossroads. You know, she's still in her youth, and you could see a version of Regina that 20 years later goes back and settles back in Kenya and finds ways to.
She also makes a comment. I can't remember how old she is at this point, whether she's a teenager yet, but she says, "I don't even remember what Germany was like," and it's said in this way, like you're like, yes, I feel like I've kind of lost something.
So I mean, to her, Kenya's home.
Yeah, it is home, but it's also it's home because that's where she's grown up and what she remembers. But then also she's been fed she's been fed so many memories of what her mom and dad have told her about Germany and their life there and all their family that they left behind. And I feel like that's the thing that's interesting when you think about like just in general, like what is home to people, because it's what you experience, but it's also what you're told and what people tell you about their experiences, especially your parents and grandparents and other loved ones that you might grow up around. And it's just I don't know, I think about that sometimes because, you know, to me, it was a long time before, like, because like now I talk about, like when I talk about my hometown, I still talk about my hometown as being the place where I grew up and where I went to high school. I lived there for 18 years. I did not move. We moved a lot around a lot in that county, but we did not leave that county. But when I think of home, like for me, home, like where I feel like home is Lexington. Like I don't think of my hometown and where I grew up as home. Like there's nothing, I don't feel that connection that some people do. Like, and to me, home is here. Home is where I'm at right now, and with, you know, my wife and son and this city, like this. But even if it was just me, if I was just a single person, home would be Lexington because it's just where I feel like myself and like and who I am. And I just think, I don't know, it's interesting because there's people kind of feel that question differently, you know.
No, I get that. I think you and I, growing up, you know, the same age and going through college and everything together, like we found out who we were as people together in Lexington. So, you know, like Lexington has always been a place that I still look at as home, even though like I only spent 6, 7 years there. You know what I mean? Like, but it's part of who I am. So, like, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
No, and I grew up in the same house. It was built right before I was born, so lived there my entire youth. And when my dad died, it's a big property, it's a big house, and it's too much for one person to maintain. So my mom put it up for sale, and like my sister was so upset. But to me, after my dad died, I was like, this doesn't feel like home anymore because it's more about them than the physical location. But my sister's very much tied to like, I still want everything to be the way it was, and like this is home, and how dare you sell it? And it's like, okay, well, are you going to buy it and move in here? It's like, and you know, spend every weekend bush hogging these 20 acres of land, but you know.
Two more things I want to talk about before we transition. One is just a little small, subtle thing that I noticed and really liked because I think it gives you a really good insight to the effects that the war is having on them in Africa is the letters to the family. How, you know, frequently they receive or don't receive them, as far as like they don't really get a whole lot of you know, contact with their families, and as it goes on you get less and less and less, and then essentially, you know, you get the letter that says, oh well, you know, I was able to finally find work, and that's when he knows like, oh great, they're in a concentration camp, and this is how they tell us.
This is what they're allowed to say.
Yeah, and when he says this is what they're allowed to say to us, and then you know, it just, man, it sucked. You know what I mean? Like it was a really well done part of the movie, and one of those things that like you don't think of until it hits you, and then you're like, holy shit, that sucks, man. So I thought that was something that we needed to at least touch on for a second. And then, of course, I think the biggest thing is the end is just Uwar not wanting to tell her goodbye because he doesn't want to cry, and the father still not understanding, like, no, you need to tell her goodbye, and her being like, no, he needs to do what his culture tells him to do, and like she understands it more than the father does, and just how hard that is for her and Uwar, and it's just an amazing scene. I love it.
Which they do sort of end up saying goodbye because she catches him
Yes.
when he's leaving, so it's
Yeah.
not like he was trying to leave without her.
Right. But they did.
noticing.
He didn't get to like say what what he really felt and what he wanted to say, because like clearly he would have broke down and cried, and
Which they would do in a Disney movie. To Josh's
exactly,
point. Yeah.
exactly. But it was just extremely touching and a beautiful scene, and rips your heart out at the same time.
Yeah, no, it's really gets at you, and that's something that's really cool about this is it's set during this awful tragic thing that happened in human history. I mean, maybe not maybe, probably like almost certainly the most awful thing humans have ever done. Civilized quote unquote humans have done to other humans, and it is like the saddest things in the movie though are like these things where you're saying goodbye to this person that you got to know over. I mean, they lived there about 10 years roughly. I guess the span of this movie covers about 10 years, and it's just it's heartbreaking, but it's there's an uplifting part to that too. Like you get to acknowledge that this person meant so much to you and brought you through this awful, terrible thing, and then they're still like as much as they had to deal with some bullshit while they were there, they lived and they got to have that choice to go back or not go back, and it's a heavy movie. It's weird. It's a heavy movie, but I don't know that it's heavy. It's not heavy in some like ways that other things we've watched are. I don't think, if that makes sense. And I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but like I feel like it can make you feel good as well as you're watching it.
So I was gonna save this for if it matters or not, but I feel like it needs to be said now. This movie shows that even when the worst of humanity and the worst things possible in history and life are happening, and it's so much bad, it still shows that something great can come out of it.
Let's have a fun conversation before we get into the probably heavier things that we'll get into a little bit here at the end of the show. Well, maybe a fun conversation. We'll see. I feel like Allison might have a lot to say about this one for some reason.
Is it because I'm a woman?
Yeah.
A woman.
Finally,
woman.
something for the woman to talk about. We want to celebrate female directors. 2001 was a weird year for women at the movies, but they all are, right, Allison? And we weird in the sense that two of the most significant culturally and also like at the box office movies of the year were both directed by women. Shrek was co-directed by a woman, Vicki Jensen. Slate will tell us more about her in a couple of weeks. And then towards the end of the year, we get Bridget Jones's Diary, directed by a woman named Sharon Maguire. That franchise, it is a franchise, weirdly. We've talked a little bit about how that has especially performed still incredibly well over in its home country, the UK. Sharon Maguire, she only basically directed this movie because she was friends with the author of the original book Bridget Jones's Diary is based on, and that's kind of like her only. She ain't done really anything else. It's kind of funny that like she's attached to this incredibly successul, well thought of movie, and it's kind of.
She didn't direct the sequels.
I think she maybe did the second one, and it maybe I we'll get into it later in the year when we talk about it, but it's strange. Like there's so many. That is a fascinating franchise, and I've only watched the first one, and I probably will only have watched the first one by the time we talk about it. But it's I'm excited to talk about it. It's an interesting franchise. But outside of those hits, women were kind of surprise, surprise, largely not behind the camera for a lot of big 2001 movies. I've got a list here in the show notes of what I consider the more significant American films that were directed by women, and you quickly get into just what I've called significant is still like most of these movies most people probably haven't heard of. And I've got some notes about each of them. I'll read a little bit about some of them. I Am Sam is probably the biggest one, and it only really counts because Sean Penn was nominated for Best Actor out of that movie for the 2002 ceremony of the Oscars. So that's covering films released in 2001. It's another like barely. It was like Black Hawk Down. It got released at like the last week of December and floated its way in there. It was directed by Jessie Nelson, a woman named Jessie Nelson. Josie and the Pussycats came out that year, directed by Deborah Kaplan, along with a man named Harry Elfont.
So it's only half a female movie.
Yeah, like Shrek. So, Riding in Cars with Boys, which is the last movie from Penny Marshall. Do I have to explain who she is, or do we? I guess I should for the listeners. Do you guys know who Penny Marshall?
Yes.
She's Laverne, right? From Laverne and Shirley. She is not Shirley. She's Laverne. She directed A League of Their Own. I mean, one of the most significant female directors before she died. She did die, didn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That's just didn't want to kill somebody on the podcast.
Oh,
And just a couple more I wanted to shout out. Again, there's a list here in the show notes I encourage y'all to check out because there's some interesting sounding movies that I haven't seen yet on this list. The Caveman's Valentine, which I almost drafted, is directed by a woman named Casey Lemons that I'm fairly certain is the only major studio release directed by a black woman in this entire year. It's a fascinating. It is a weird movie. It is a really odd movie. Samuel L. Jackson plays a schizophrenic man in the movie who he was like a trained. He went to, is it Juilliard? Is that the music school? Juilliard.
What's arts? They do dance and music.
Okay.
And
So I'm pretty sure he went to Juilliard. Like his character went to Juilliard and was a trained musician and an excellent musician, but he lives in a cave. He's schizophrenic and is convinced like some guy in a tower is controlling the world and his thoughts and trying to basically get him to drive himself crazy. It's a fascinating movie.
And then he launched InfoWars.
well, he met up with the naked bearded Anthony Hopkins in that cave.
Right.
Oh, it seemed like a cool cave. I'll say that. It seemed like a cool cave. I would love to talk about that movie, but it's hard to find a way to do it naturally. So we'll see.
That seems to be a thing with your movies, Josh.
Yeah. I looked I was thinking about my draft earlier today, and I thought, I really did draft some weird movies. So, and the other one, Sugar and Spice, which was one of my favorite movies.
I do want to talk about this movie at some point.
I haven't seen this movie.
Oh, it is so good. It is like ignore whatever reviews are out there. I'm sure it's got a terrible score.
Imagine if Bring It On was mixed with Heat, and instead of hockey mask, they were wearing presidential Halloween masks, like Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, it was. It is a delightful movie. It's very much a 2000s era comedy, and it was directed by a woman named Francine McDougall. It was her only theatrical film, only movie she ever directed, and she's still alive. Just the only other ones. There's a lot of interesting things, some documentaries that were directed by women or co-directed by women. But there's a lot of the bigger, and I say bigger, like movies that like you at least hear about a lot, were actually from overseas that year. La Cienega, aka the Swamp. That's what that means in is Spanish the language spoken in Argentina, or Portuguese, or Spanish, right? Yeah, Spanish. Directed by Lucrecia Martel from Argentina. That was her first film, and is also one of the there's a few movies that we've covered this year that were named on the top 250 in the latest Sight and Sound poll, which is kind of like one of the major uh, surveys of all critics across the world. And I think it is the only one we haven't talked about yet that is on that list, and that is so that's kind of just impressive on its own. It's in the Criterion Collection, along with Monsoon Wedding, which is directed by Mira Nair out of India. It won the Golden Lion at the Venice Film Festival that year, 2001. A few others, Trouble Every Day, directed by Claire Denis. She directed Beau Travail, which I think we joked about on a podcast previous to this, because the New York Times has it as on its best films of the century list, even though it came out in 1999. Fuckers. And it was she's a very kind of well regarded director. It's an erotic horror movie. It's about like cannibalism kind of. So it's like
I think a lot of her movies are erotic to some degree.
Yeah.
So I've seen High Life. I would
Okay.
recommend. It's got your girl Mia Goth in it.
I
It's
want to
like-
watch High Life because Robert
It's-
Pattinson's in that too, right?
Yes, and
that's her
that is
only
why I
English
watched it,
language.
'cause
So
I love. I'll
Yeah.
see anything that he does, pretty much. But it's a weird, fucked up movie, and it's a space movie, but not your traditional space movie.
Cool.
And there's like,
is it
there's a
weirder
sick-
than The Lighthouse?
no, it's not weirder than The Lighthouse.
Okay, then
But
I'm in.
there is a sex room with a giant dildo
Oh fuck!
that the
With Mia
crew
Goth,
can-
I'm in. I'm in.
that the crew can go use at their discretion.
Nice.
So yeah, and they're
That
Is,
sounds awesome.
is the movie like in French?
No, it's her
English.
only. It's her first. It was as of now her only English.
What's this
language.
movie called?
High Life.
High Life.
And like they're all prisoners put on this spaceship and sent out, and the doctor is who's kind of running the ship is doing like weird sex experiments on them. Yeah. So.
Okay, I was already wanting to watch this movie, and without
I'm in.
knowing anything about it,
Yeah.
now I'm like
No,
way
that's what I'm
more
saying.
into
Like
it.
it's super weird. You should watch it.
Yeah, I like weird shit.
I've not watched Trouble Every Day, but I'm excited to check it out. I have it, and it sounds cool. It sounds pretty gnarly. A lot of other foreign films. Fat Girl, it's also in the Criterion Collection, and she also directed the same year Catherine Breillat out of France. I'm sure I mispronounced that. A movie called Brief Crossing. Pretty much everything in her filmography seems like it deals with sex in some way. Both of these movies are mostly about sex or sexual awakenings or whatever. And like I got the sense just from reading through most of her other stuff that's a theme she likes to go into a lot. Lovely Rita, which is a kind of a coming of age drama-ish thing that was awarded that year the European Film Academy's they call it the European Discovery Award, which is an award I kind of think I didn't talk about this in the Oscars when we talked about like kind of things we might want to see added at some point. It's an award that's like recognized, like it's an honor for films directed by a first-time director, or like a major. I think that would be a cool Oscar.
I'm kind of surprised that doesn't exist.
I think the Golden Globes or like maybe SAG or DGA or something. One of those like other shows awards something like that. And I think it would be kind of cool for the Oscars to do something similar. And like I think that would be fun. Like it would be a way to give some recognition to some different weirder movies too, probably. She also, I wanted to mention, just for anyone listening, because I know we got some horror fans listening, her follow-up to that movie, Lovely Rita, which came out like 3 or 4 years later, it's called Hotel. It's like a psychological horror that it's kind of, it's like a Lynchian type movie from what I've read, so that might be fun. Listed a lot of other movies here. If I encourage you to check out the show notes if you want to see those. But so things have changed quite a bit from 2001 to now. We have a lot more women out there, at least in terms of like the big headlining movies. There are generally more women behind the camera. Hamnet, directed by Chloe Zhao, who won. She became the second woman to win a Best Director award for Nomadland a few years ago. Catherine Bigelow was the first, and she also had a huge movie come out in 2025, A House of Dynamite. It was a Netflix movie, so it didn't have a big theatrical release. But it was one of the most watched movies on Netflix, in the top 10 for the entire year. So, I mean, it's clearly doing well. The Netflix's most watched movie was K-pop Demon Hunters, which was co-directed by a woman named Maggie Kang. And that was her first movie. That was her and her the partner on that project's first directorial movie. So that was obviously a huge, huge thing. The thing I wanted to kind of highlight is, you had a lot of movies like were sequels and revivals of like franchises, Freakier Friday, Five Nights at Freddy's 2, I Know What You Did Last Summer, that were all directed by women. And to me, that's kind of like the sign of like, okay, this is like you're really kind of becoming a little bit more warm to the idea of having different people behind the camera when you're like giving them the trashy sequels and revivals of things that people are clamoring for. Did y'all know? So do you know what Red Sonja is? Have you heard of it at all? I know you're a comic fan, Allison. I know Slade is too.
Brigitte Nielsen.
Yeah. So did you know there was a fucking revival of Red Sonja last year, and that a woman directed it? Like, her name was MJ Bassett, and apparently it's terrible, but like great, like that's good. Like women should get to direct shitty movies too, and so that's kind of where I'm.
Well, like speaking of sequels, we were talking about before we recorded, but I finally saw 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple this weekend, and thought it was fantastic. It's directed by Nia DaCosta, and I am so bummed that it just completely fell flat at the box office. I mean, I think it's better than I liked the 28 Years Later, the first one, but I think this one is better, and I think it's so well done and visually interesting, and it's a different story, and I hate that it didn't make enough money for her to be considered for, I don't know, bigger things. I'm sure like she's still going to get work because I think she's a good director, but it's like between that and she directed the Marvels.
Yeah, which
was not great.
Well, and that's like got the whole narrative around it, like the incels, coming out in full force against that one, and that's just is what it is, unfortunately. But like, that's what's also sucks about that movie is, them aside, like that movie is like one of the biggest bombs that's ever been made, and I don't understand it. Like that's the thing that I have a hard time reconciling is why that one was the one that was kind of like the first one that really, really just bombed. And I still haven't seen it, so to be fair, I was part of the problem. But I liked the first Captain Marvel. I know she didn't direct that one, but like the Marvel seemed fun from what I read and kind of knew about it in the trailers and stuff. But also for me at least, it was like more of like I'm just kind of exhausted by the Marvel stuff, and that's why I didn't go watch it.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah, it's not a great movie, but I think general Marvel exhaustion, I think carryover from the battle Brie Larson fought with the original Captain Marvel, and it made so much money.
Well, yeah, it made $1 billion, right? Like it was like one of the biggest ones.
But I think she's still really good. I think the girl who plays, oh my God, why am I blanking on her name? Her name's Iman. Her protege. Well, oh my God, I'm having a stroke.
I never watched it, so I couldn't tell you.
The girl is it Miss Marvel? Is
Miss
that her
Marvel?
Yes.
Yeah. I think she's really, really good. But it's there are worse Marvel movies.
No, yeah, I have no doubt about that. She directed. I had to refamiliarize myself. She directed the Candyman remake or the sequel, whatever it is.
Now
that's really
like
good. I remember liking that.
That was very good. It's like a reboot, remake, of kind of 2-in-1 type thing.
And so I think, yeah, hopefully she'll get more shots and more bites at the apple. I'm sure. And if it's smaller bites at the apple, then that might be a better thing. In terms of like the movies she gets to make, like the kind of movies she gets to make. But I hope she gets to do whatever she wants to do because she's clearly, I think, got talent and is doing cool stuff. And she's also, worth noting, she's also a black woman. So that's like also a nicer distinction. And something like kind of I wanted to ask is like, one, do we feel like things are better than they used to be? But also how can they be better? And there's still obviously lots of types of people and different perspectives that aren't represented a lot of times in Hollywood. But I don't know. I feel like it's better than it used to be, for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say I definitely think it's better. You failed to mention our girl, who I'm not the biggest fan of, but Maggie Gyllenhaal directed The Bride this year as well.
Oh yeah. See, I
Um,
didn't get into 2026 stuff, but yeah.
oh, I mean, you're throwing out Candyman and Marvels and all that. So, yeah, I mean, like, I think it's hard to. Okay, for instance, right? I'm a massive baseball fan. I love baseball. One of the biggest problems that baseball has is that there are no African American players in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the percentage for black players that are American born black players is the lowest percentage it's ever been. And it's extremely low. It's dominated by white and Hispanic, like Latinos, people from Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Venezuela. That like just black Americans don't. But it's not for lack of trying.
Mm-hmm.
Most black athletes now play football or basketball. Like, and that's one of the arguments that they have with baseball is like, how do we get these players to want to, instead of playing these sports, how do we get them back into playing our sport, right? Well, I don't think that there's a whole lot of female cinematographers and female women that like females that have roles in directing, like that have that resume to justify getting films. And it's like, so it's like a vicious cycle. So how do we get that, right? How do we give more women more opportunities to do that? I absolutely think that it's better. I don't know how we get to where we should be, where it's more equal, but I do think that there's probably quite a list of women who are knocking on the door trying to get uh, a movie made that they really want, that either maybe they feel passionate about and producers say, love the idea, would rather give it to somebody I trust more, and it ends up being a man or whatever, right? But like I totally see certain women, like for instance, it would not shock me if 5 to 10 years from now, if Jennifer Lawrence or Lupita Nyong'o were to direct their own movie, and it feels like in Hollywood, most women directors like going forward would probably be actresses that started out as actresses, and like how do we get the women that are key grips to get an assistant camera operator, and then how do we get them to go from that to being a director of photography, and how do we get them those opportunities to create more opportunities for them to be directors? That's the problem.
It's like if you're not already kind of established like a Catherine Bigelow or a Patty Jenkins, then it seems like if you are an actor who's wanted to go into directing, studios are, I guess, more willing to take a chance because you're a name,
right,
that they can help sell. But
you're gonna have to find an actor to stick their neck out for somebody too. Like it's gonna have to be, say, Michael B. Jordan is like, I love this woman and her vision, and I'm only doing this movie if you let her make it. You know what I mean? Or a powerful female voice is gonna have to step up for somebody else and be like, this movie deserves to be made by this person, and put their name on it.
Well, it's interesting because you brought up the cinematography stuff too, Slade, and like the being behind the camera. And it's like I'm sure there's probably a lot of women cinematographers or DPs or first cameras or whatever that we don't even know their names. Or I mean, I don't know most cinematographers' names if I'm being honest, but like we don't ever see them rise to director or whatever, because some people that's what they want to do. They want to be cinematographers, and that's how they stay there, and that's the floor that they hit. But also, when they get that opportunity, this is where I kind of think there's probably still a lot of sexism in place. Like, I mean, men probably most of the time want to work with other men, and vice versa. Women a lot of times might want to work with other women, and so like I think it's powerful when you have someone like Ryan Coogler, who has worked with this woman, Autumn Arkapaw, on a few of his movies, and including Sinners, which she won and became the first woman to win Best Cinematographer. which is crazy in itself.
She
like,
will be a director, right?
And yeah, it strikes me as like maybe she's someone we'll be talking about as someone who will have that opportunity and will do great things with it. But like that takes like someone who's also on the rise and has dealt with things. You know, he's a black man, so it's not like he's like had it easy in terms of Hollywood, you know, getting a chance behind the camera either. But someone like Coogler to say like, no, that's my girl. Like I want to work with her and give her this $200,000 or $200 million movie to go shoot. You know, like that takes, you know, it takes bridging those gaps between people and different types of people to also influence how a lot of this stuff happens. You have to have everybody be willing to work with different types of people and people who, you know, people are different genders and different sexes or sexual orientations and different colors. Like it takes everybody wanting to kind of get in the boat with different people to also give those people bigger chances. And because the director is kind of like the end all be all. Like that's like the final chair you can sit in. And I think you talk about with writing too. Like you probably, how long did we go? Like I should have prepared for this better, but I wonder how long it took a woman to win best screenplay. You know, like I wonder when that happened. And
it feels like it feels like we even fall into this stereotype. I would say if I were to talk to a woman that I'm meeting for the first time and I say, "Oh, hey, what do you do?" and she's like, "Oh, well, I work in Hollywood." One of the first things you're going to ask probably is, "Oh, are you an actress or do you do costume design? Like, what do you do?"
Yeah,
you
what
know?
are the woman
Those
jobs,
are the first two things, right? And
Do you do makeup?
Yeah,
exactly. Like, yeah, do you do costume design? Do you do makeup? Are you know, like, and it's not fair to them at all. It's just the typical stereotype that like we have to try to break ourselves.
You would
from.
never assume that she does lighting,
right?
Or does key grip work.
Right.
Like you just wouldn't assume that. Like
there's women stunt doubles, you know.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter met one. She loved her.
Yeah,
Might have been 95 years old, but she loved her. You know.
Yeah, I'm curious what else you might have to think about this, Allison, because you are the member from the woman delegation.
I know. I have to speak on behalf of all women everywhere. What I would love, what I would consider more like equality is if a woman was allowed to fail as much as so many male directors are allowed to fail and still get work.
That's the real.
How did Brett Ratner do so many movies? How did Bryan Singer continue to get movies? How did Victor Salva get a movie as a convicted pedophile? It seems like Patty Jenkins directs Wonder Woman. And everyone's like, "Oh my God, a woman can direct a blockbuster!" Ugh.
Who'd have thought?
Who'd have thought? And then Wonder Woman 2. Disappointing.
Director jail. And I'm like, okay. I mean, how many shitty sequels have been directed by men and they continue to get... That's what I find frustrating. I'm like, this person has a track record of making good movies. They made one bad one and suddenly it's like, okay, we can't ever let a woman direct a superhero movie again. Or, it's... Let everyone fail equally. Yeah. Well, especially what sucks with that stuff too, because it's like you brought up Nia DaCosta too. In those cases, because you just made me think of something. I looked up Thor: The Dark World, which I think most people probably
Patty
consider.
Jenkins was supposed to direct that.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, she backed out because she had
because she's smart.
Well, she had that script that what they shot was not her vision, and then when they were they were meddling, and she was just like, you know what, I'm out. And that's also why Natalie Portman is like barely in that movie, because she was very upset because she was brought on board that Patty Jenkins was going to be directing it, and then she was replaced with what's his name, Alan.
But that's why I was going to ask if you even knew the name of the guy, because I didn't. Because I'd also seen at some point Kenneth Branagh was he was the first one and so he comes off of it, and so Alan Taylor is the guy's name.
Alan Taylor, yeah.
And so, but that's what I wanted to get at is like, who the fuck is Alan Taylor? No one knows who he is. You look at his filmography. The only other thing I even recognize from his filmography is Terminator Genesis, which came out like a couple years later. and so he
gave him Marvel movie.
Yeah,
Like,
so
Jesus Christ.
and but so like he's just like a nobody. Like he's a former TV director. Nothing against TV directors, but TV directing is like a different job than movie director. TV director is often like a gun for hire. You're just coming in to make sure all the monkeys jump high enough. Like that's kind of like a lot of times what a TV director is doing. Like only the real visionaries like break out a TV director and do anything special. So he's just a gun for hire movie director who got to, I guess that movie did okay, but like it was probably up until Thor, Taika Waititi's second Thor movie was probably considered the worst Thor movie, and like no one cares, no one even but like the women that get that opportunity are the ones who've done like awesome stuff, like Nia DaCosta does this Candyman thing that people think is really cool, and like even to do Candyman, she had to do something really special in like the indie scene to get that opportunity, and it's like the women that get even the opportunity to direct a Marvel movie or something else like a big blockbuster that fails.
It has to be it has to be a female lead character too.
Yeah, there's also usually that element, and there's also like you had to do really significant stuff to even get on radars up to that point to even get that opportunity, whereas like Alan Taylor just walks in off of fucking the set of, a sitcom or something and gets to direct a
well, he was on the next lot over. That's what it was.
Yeah.
You
just happened to be in the area.
Right. I'm excited to see, like, the next female independent director that is putting her movies out on YouTube or whatever, like her shorts and things like that, and gets picked up by Neon or A24 and make something that's just revolutionary that we haven't seen yet. It's going to happen, right? And when it does, it's going to kick ass. And I can't wait when that does happen.
Yeah, because you're starting to see that a little bit like with guys, like some of the male YouTubers or people who've come up in that world that are kind of doing that stuff. And I'm sure there's probably people out there that have made some women out there and trans women and trans men and I mean, like there's all kinds of underrepresented people that aren't really in the zeitgeist of what we talk about that I think will be hopefully get that opportunity. I think it's weird though. It is fun to think, or not fun. It's sad to think that as women at least are starting to get more opportunities. It's like, oh well, movies are dying and all this crazy bad stuff is happening to Hollywood, and it's all coming to an end probably in the next 20, 30 years. And but okay, here's your chance, women. Enjoy it. Here you
Save
go.
us.
You can finally play with our toys.
Save Hollywood.
Well, I mean, considering that, like, I don't know. There's also the flip side of, because streaming platforms have so much stuff that it could be that women have more opportunities to do a streaming movie because it's a lesser risk, I guess.
Anna Kendrick directed Woman of the Hour, which was great. I thought.
Oh, I wanted to check that out. I just like Anna Kendrick as a personality. Like she just seems fun.
Do you know anything about that?
I've
Woman
not watched
of the Hour?
that.
So it's a true story.
I know of it. I've not seen it.
Okay.
She was on a dating show, right? Am I thinking of the right one?
Yeah, she's on a dating show. The
guy was a serial killer.
Oh wow.
A serial killer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's good.
It's good. It's really good.
I'll check it out. Cool. Yeah. Well, yeah. That's yeah. So I guess we've tried to solve several of the world's problems along the way today, and check women off the box at the box office. At least we're finally getting there. We're finally getting there. You're welcome, Allison.
Hey, as I told you, I did direct a music video for the Bloodhound Gang.
You did.
So technically, I am a female director.
She's even credited on the album, even though they misspelled her name.
Oh man. Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
Oh lordy.
All right. So,
Let's
unlike
not
the
forget.
last time I hosted an episode, we're going to talk about the reason we're here, except for when we talk about Ghost World, the does this movie matter? Do you think it? I have a weird. I'm curious. I'll let y'all say what you want to say. I feel like it's weird to think that anyone would say it doesn't matter, but um, I guess I think about it more of like, does it matter more now than it did when it came out? And I think to me that question is, yeah, that's the more interesting question, and it's also yes, you know.
Yeah. For me, this is one of those movies that, again, when my daughter is older and starts learning about World War II and asking questions about, what the 1940s were like and what Hitler was like and what Germany and all of that, we're gonna sit down and watch this. Like, you need to see this, and like I would rather show you this than show you Schindler's List. Like, and don't get me wrong, like we'll get into that too, you know what I mean? But I think that this movie does a really good job of like showing that how even though you got away from it, you didn't really escape it. It still affected you. It hit your life, and again, like I think that it's a beautiful message that like even though it's awful and the shit that's going on is ruining your life, and like you could look at your situation and see how bleak and terrible it is, and it's probably the worst time of your life, it's somehow also the best time of her life. Like, it really is. Like, if it wasn't, she wouldn't have wrote the book and made a movie about it. You know what I mean? Like, it shaped who she was, and something beautiful came out of it. She got the strongest relationship with I would argue, a stronger relationship with Uwar than she had with her own father. And it clearly shaped who she is as a person, and she's so thankful for that. So like, yeah, this movie absolutely matters, and it's one of those things that like needs to be talked about and shared more often.
I would say I usually take the lens of like a movie's impact on pop culture and how it may have affected certain careers or whatever. And I don't think that applies in this case, because from that perspective, no. But to Josh's point, the subject matter in this movie makes this movie matter, and I do think it is more relevant and important now than it was 25 years ago, given the state of the world.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think I liked what you said, Slade, about it being a just again, it's a movie. I'm sure there's a lot of liberties taken, but just as a historical lens to look through, it is so unique to watch a movie about what is essentially is about the Holocaust and about World War II, but those things kind of be in the background, even though they are the whole engine that's kind of underpinning the movie, and to show a slice of that experience and this a single family's experience dealing with that awful event in history, and what that can do for people who watch it, kids especially, at any point in time, to get to experience. Because that's like the best thing about movies, and to me at least, is the best movies can put you in the experience of somebody else, and I think this movie does that as well as any movie that we've talked about this year so far. And to Allison's point, if we were doing this podcast 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I'd probably answer this question differently. Like, I would probably say, yes, it matters because of that, like stuff Slate was getting at, but also I didn't think that the Nazis were going to be coming back probably 15 years ago. Like, I don't know that was something that was crossing my mind while I was in high school as much as it is now. And
that
you know, that's a weird thing to be thinking about, like how easy it might be for something like this to happen again.
You think you'd be seeing that people were being pulled from their homes and detained on the news in 2025, 2026, 15 years ago?
Yeah, that
put in
not
camps.
Cross my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, this movie is you can replace the Nazis. I mean, again, it is a different situation. So I'll say that it is. I mean, it is different, but it's what we see in America today and what we see in other countries. You know, the Israel Palestine stuff. Like it's not limited to us by any means, but like just where we live, you see this stuff that's happening, and you can see how it can lead to what happened in Germany. I hope it doesn't. I don't think it will. I really don't believe that it will, but I might be the idiot in Germany who's saying, you know,
You might be Yedel, and you're just
yeah.
you're making,
I'm worried
nah.
about my China, you know.
I'm worried about my Power Ranger collection.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of, you know, where we are as a country, and I think for that reason it's hard to say that that movie does anything but matter, because it kind of, even though it's about something that happened almost 100 years ago, it's about stuff that's happening right now in our backyard.
Yeah, it is weird when they say, like, you know, those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it, and it feels like sometimes we are trending in those directions, you know, not just as a country, but as humanity, which is even scarier. Um, but, you know, hopefully, like, you know, we don't get there and people will stand up and speak out and all of that. And you got to believe in like the brighter side of humanity and hope that like we don't, you know, keep going those directions and things change and all of that. But it's tough, man. It really is. There's, you know, every situation is different, but you can see similarities in certain things, and it's frustrating. It's never none, like you said, 15 years ago you never thought, I mean, did racism still
I would have
exist?
approached this
Yeah,
entirely
but
different.
I
Entirely
felt
different.
like, yeah, I felt like my generation knew of racism, and at the age of, you know, 18, 19, 20, like if you were a racist, like, dude, fuck you. You know, like you're the one dude out of the 450 dudes here, and we all think you're an idiot. And now people that would have been in
Trending
that
the other
same group
way.
with me thinking that are now being racist. You know, and it's like, how did that happen? How did we backtrack? How did you go from being progressively thinking to like now you're openly supporting racism and
Yeah, it's not like
justifying
you
it?
were. It's not like you were, you know, kind of on the fence about taxes in high school, and now you might be
Yeah,
thinking more conservatively that way. Like you can kind of understand why a person might, you know, ebb and flow with
sure.
that. The racism thing is kind of like a pretty big switch up, you know.
Yeah,
I don't. Yeah,
It's been a very effective propaganda
yeah.
to
I
get
mean,
people to turn that way.
it's just
yeah.
sad.
You just kind of you feel people's heads and Facebook feeds and whatnot with things that kind of turn everybody against each other, and this is where we get back to Nowhere in Africa becoming, you know, getting a sequel at some point.
No, let's not do
Um,
that. But no, all right. While we're on the subject of fake news and propaganda, and on a lighter note, I like to think of myself as somebody who's able to tell when a news article is false. I'm curious if you guys have seen this, if this is real, if I'm being duped, because I don't know. I haven't done any research on it, but I saw a post yesterday. Somebody saying we have two great white sharks in Kentucky now in the rivers.
oh
It's
no,
fake,
I just
right?
assume I assume anytime it involves sharks in Kentucky or in a place where they normally aren't, it's fake. But now
It
I gotta
has
look
to
it
be.
up.
Yeah, yeah. Like
It has to
like,
be unless they're in an aquarium. God, great whites are saltwater creatures,
that's
correct?
yeah. But somebody was saying out of like I guess like the Kentucky River somehow. It's got to be fake. But like the amount of people that were engaging in it and stuff, I was like, is this actually? This can't be real, right? It was the first like fake news one that caught me off guard for a minute. It can't be real. Josh is not saying it's fake yet.
I don't think this is real, what I'm reading. But
Okay.
it sounds like somebody just bullshitted their way into a Facebook post that's getting a lot of engagement. But
All right.
It's a website called Kentucky News with the Z.biz.
no, it is a public Facebook group called History of Kentucky, and it has 130,000 members, Allison. So.
See? Okay, like, all right. It's not one of my mother's news pages that she used to send to me. It's...
I did laugh when I was listening to the Swordfish episode today, and you were like, Mom, I don't need to read a news story about somebody who found 73 leeches in their Coke.
It's so true.
Stop sending me this.
Oh man, yeah, it's we
Okay,
say this
alright.
a lot. Fascinating time to be alive. I guess there, are many times that such as that through history, but we are certainly living through one of them. And
Josh, if you scroll down 2 more stories, you'll see where Colin Chandler donated his entire NIL money to the homeless shelter next door to where he lives.
oh man, something you did say though, Slade, earlier that to end again on a positive note or bring some positivity to this is Uwar was a beacon in this tragic experience for this family, and he was in the country of Kenya at large. Like they welcomed refugees and were able to provide them something. It wasn't the life they had, but it was a life that was better than what they would have experienced had they stayed in Germany. And I think I feel like it might be on us someday. We might need to be those people, and it might not be for a tragic human, genocide, but it might be, a neighbor or something. We might need to be that person, or we may need that person, and I think those people are out there, and so that's something to celebrate and remember, and try to keep your hopes up, for sure. Well, our safari's over. It's time to go home. It's another episode in the books here, listeners. Thank you for joining us. I know we keep them long, but I hope you listen and enjoy them and watch this movie. Obviously, I think it's an incredible movie and well worth your time. Show notes are where they always are in the description, along with all our hangouts online. Please leave reviews anywhere you listen to us or watch us. Follow us on Instagram. All that good stuff. Anything? Y'all got anything before we kind of get out of here?
Nope. Would recommend this movie. It's free on YouTube. So.
And again, yeah, I definitely echo that. Watch it there, but also if you like it, or even if you think you might like it, check out the Kino Lorber Blu-ray. Like I don't give them a lot of shout outs here. I've mentioned a lot of other distributors. Their movies are usually cheaper. I think it might be like $12 or something. So it's for a blind buy, it's a little cheaper, and it's something they usually they're a little bit more bare bones than a lot of the other boutique places, but that's the trade-off. You get, they're usually a little cheaper, and it's really good. Like it's a beautiful movie. Like we didn't talk enough about the way everything in this movie looks and all the shots and like where they shot in Kenya. Just so beautiful. It's just there's times where it looks like a nature documentary. Like it's really, really well done. So usually I would hand off to somebody and say, oh, tell us about the movie that you're talking about next week, Allison or Slate. But we're in a rare situation where I'm also hosting next week's episode. And so, how do I transition here? We're going from a movie that is very touching and heartbreaking at times, and about family and all the dynamics there, to a schlocky horror slasher movie
that we may not even be able to find.
Might not be able to find streaming. At least it's available. You can rent it for like $1.50 or so on various platforms. And also, we maybe shouldn't even be talking about it because it might not be a 2001 movie, depending on how we go about that. We'll explain that next week. So instead, I'll just let Allison and Slate have their piece of take their bites out of me here for a minute if they want to, as we prepare for .com for Murder next week.
I haven't seen it, but I can't wait to watch it and destroy you for how bad this movie is.
Yeah.
But when
We're gonna come in guns blazing.
when Soul Survivors was the other option, I had to go with this because as much as I love Elijah Dushku, it's got to be the worst movie I've ever watched. And somehow this movie has better ratings than it. So that's the only reason why I was staying with it.
Barely.
What was the audience score? 4%.
4% and 6%.
I mean,
Audience score, not even critic
Oh,
score.
it's so bad.
Oh yes.
it's gonna be a good old time.
Definitely lighten the mood.
Yep.
Well, we'll see. I can find I'm pretty sure I can find a negative bonus feature if I play my cards right. I have not given one thought to what the bonus feature for that episode is going to be. I'm scared to even think about it now. All right. Well, that's coming up next week, so look forward to that, and we'll be here the same bat time, same bat channels. Until then, keep your passports handy, everybody.
Well, allow me to quote another one of my favorite Rough Riders. Drop your glasses, shake your asses, face screw it up like you're having hot flashes. Which one? Pick one. This one. Classic. Red from blonde. Yeah, bitch, I'm drastic. Thanks, Eve.
I have so many questions as to why that
It's
song
a good one.
landed here on this episode.
I scrolled through about 5 songs and finally ended up on this one. Sorry.
You just random selected.
5 minutes ago, I was like, I gotta find something. Jennifer Lopez Love Don't Cost a Thing was up here, and I was like, nah, no. We're gonna go with Eve.
All right.
We must never let that happen to us or to our country. We must never let ourselves be divided by race or color or religion, because in this country we all belong to minority groups. I was born in Hungary. You are a Mason. These are minorities. And then you belong to other minority groups too. You are a farmer. You have blue eyes. You go to the Methodist Church. Your right to belong to these minorities is a precious thing. You have a right to be what you are and say what you think, because here we have personal freedom. We have liberty. And these are not just fancy words. This is a practical and priceless way of living. But we must work at it. We must guard everyone's liberty, or we can lose our own. If we allow any minority to lose its freedom by persecution or by prejudice, we are threatening our own freedom. And this is not simply an ideal. This is good, hard common sense. You see, here in America is not a question whether we tolerate minorities. America is minorities. And that means you and me. So let's not be suckers. We must not allow the freedom or dignity of any man to be threatened by any act or word. Let's be selfish about it. Let's forget about we and they. Let's think about us.